Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another video of Islamistic.com. I'm your brother Anwar Ali, and we are here today with a new topic. And the topic will be dealing with the fifth article that was published on Islamistic.com entitled Aqidah, the Islamic Belief. And we also been discussing in our previous videos that the faith or the belief or belief in Allah, belief in one and only God, is the most important pillar or most important article in Islam that all of the Muslims should be aware of and should be practicing very cautiously and very properly. We should not be associating partners with Allah in any form, or we are out of the folds of Islam. So this is a very important topic, though this is the first step that we take in order to accept Islam, that we testify that there is no God worthy of worship except Allah. So that is our first step to the Islam. The testification or testimony of the faith is the first step towards Islam. But yes, we might slip in many cases while performing many actions. We might by mistake associate partners with Allah. So this is a very important topic, because to associate partners with Allah is known as shirk. And as per Islam, as per Quran, shirk is the biggest sin that a human can ever perform, and this has no forgiveness until we repent on it. All other sins, if Allah wills, He can forgive, but shirk is something that cannot be forgiven by Allah until and unless we repent. So this is of great importance that we don't fall upon shirk and we only follow oneness or monotheism, where we follow only one true God. So this is the matter of this is a very important topic that is to be discussed, and we should be very careful while following Allah. So let's get into the topic. So we are dealing with Aqidah. So Aqidah is not a technical term that is to be followed. Rather, it is, if you see, nowhere in the Quran there is a term Aqidah, but this is something introduced by the scholars of Islam in order to elaborate the understanding on Tawheed, elaborate the understanding on faith. So this is one of the signs of belief, where we discuss about oneness of God, and the explanation of Aqidah is then associated with Quran, is associated with the Hadith. But Aqidah itself, if you see, the term Aqidah is not nowhere found in the Quran, but the technical meaning of the Aqidah is everywhere in the Quran. So we need to understand this. So basically we are talking about faith, we are talking about Tawheed here, not Aqidah. But why do the scholars call it Aqidah? We'll be discussing about that in a while. So Aqidah is an Arabic word that is derived from a root word uqda, and uqda means a knot. Or if we tie two different ropes, then we get a knot in the middle, and that is known as uqda. So why is Aqidah derived from a word uqda, which means a knot? Okay, let's analyze. So if we tie up two different ropes with a strong knot, then it represents strength. It represents that they are not separable now, they are tied up together. So it needs a great force to separate them now. So they are strongly attached with each other now. So this is the meaning of knot. Similarly, uqda, that is the uqda. Similarly, Aqidah is the knot of belief in our heart that ties me with the remembrance of Allah. And it is so strong that it cannot be separated from my heart. The belief of Allah cannot be now separated from my heart. So Aqidah is not just random belief or random tradition. Aqidah is a strong belief that cannot be shaken easily by any words or any fear or any warnings. No, Aqidah is a strong belief that is not separable from one, no matter what. It always remains inside the heart. So it is here used to describe the faith of a Muslim. It is not a faith of any other culture that can be sold, or that can be compromised, that can be played with, that can be modified. Aqidah is a strong belief that is not separable from any human being, no matter what. So that kind of strong belief system is known as Aqidah. That's why it is associated with a knot, an inseparable or inseparable knot, and that cannot separate two different rope. So that is why Aqidah is associated with knot. Okay, so that is the meaning of Aqidah. So it is also known as Iman or faith. Aqidah generally is also known as Iman or faith. So what are we having a faith on? So what is our faith? What is our belief? What is our Aqidah? Our Aqidah is on Tawheed. Tawheed is our factor on which we believe, and the belief system is known as Aqidah or Iman. So if you put them together, we are having Iman on Aqidah. So this is the Iman, or this is the faith, or this is the system of faith for a Muslim. So our Aqidah is on Tawheed, our Iman is on Tawheed. So what is Tawheed? Tawheed is derived from a root word, Arabic word, wahada. We know wahid in Arabic number system is 1. So to say 1 in Arabic, we call it wahid. So wahada is also derived from wahid, which means to unite, to unify, or to make one. So that is the meaning of wahada, to make one, to unite. So what are we trying to make one? We are trying to converge our belief on the existence of Allah. We are trying to converge our belief in the names and attributes of Allah. We are trying to converge on the worship to one and only Allah, and make all these just in a position that it only is deserved by Allah. Nobody else deserves his partnership in his existence. Nobody deserves to share his names and attributes. Nobody deserves to share his worship. So this is like uniting or making one in the matter of worship, making Allah just one worthy of worship, making Allah just one worthy of his names and attributes. Nobody share his name and attributes, and making Allah worthy of having no partners except himself in his existence, in his creation, in his control of the universe. Nobody can be his partner. So to unite all these attributes, all these action, and make it one, and make it divert or make it converge only to Allah. Nobody else will be sharing these things with Allah. This concept of unification of all the attributes, unification of all of the actions, and make it in such a way that only Allah, believing that only Allah deserves all this, this concept or this action or this platform is known as Tawheed, and the belief system in this and this factor is known as Aqidah. So our Aqidah is that only Allah alone created everything. Allah alone is controlling everything. Allah alone is controlling the entire universe. The good and bad is from Allah. Similarly, whatever names and attributes we know about Allah, that Allah has informed us through his books, those names and attributes only Allah deserves those names and attributes. Similarly, in the matter of worship, only Allah deserves our worship. So this factor of making Allah alone worthy of worship, worthy of his names and attributes, and worthy of claiming that he is the creator, he is the sustainer, he is the controller of the entire universe. This factor or this platform or this attitude is known as Tawheed, while the action of belief in that factor is known as Aqidah. So I hope we are clear. If you see in the times of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the platform that was given to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was mostly the mushrik or the polytheists of Arab, especially the people of Makkah and Medina, or people of Arabs. And they were mushrik. They had no logic in their religion. They had no concept of understanding God. It was just for material benefit. So they had different idols like Lat, Manat, Hubal, Uzza, and they had their own rules specified by the human being themselves. that somebody is responsible for their business, and somebody is responsible to protect them, and somebody is responsible to provide them with foods. So they had various material desires for which they had created their own god. So this was the concept of god with the people of Arabs, and they did not have any logic behind that. They just followed because their ancestors did. So they didn't have any logic. And whenever Quran was revealed, they turned out to be dumb, because they didn't have any logic to defy or to deny the verses of Quran. So lots and lots of people embraced Islam. In fact, the entire Arab became Muslim within few decades. So this was the power of Quran, message of Quran for those polytheists. But whenever Islam started to spread on Iraq, on Iran, in Persia, same as Iran, and in other places of the world, then the scholar of Islam had to migrate along with the people or in the different countries, in order to teach them Islam, in order to establish Islamic centers, in order to establish an Islamic state. So there were scholars of Islam, there were learned people of Islam who used to travel along with the Muslim. So whenever they traveled throughout the lands of the world, they found that people also believed in Tawheed, oneness of God, but they had wrong way of worshipping Allah, or the one and true God. For example, when they traveled to Iran, they found people believing in one and only God, but they used to divide God into two parts, like darkness and light. So they say there are two, let's say, states of God, the darkness and the light, but they believe in one and only God. Similarly, whenever they went to the Christian world, they believed in Trinity. So God is three in one. So there was Tawheed, there was oneness of the concept of belief in oneness of God, but there were people who have modified the oneness of God in such a way that it was only oneness of God in words, but in action they used to believe in more than one God. Similarly, even in the case of when Islam spread in the various lands, for example in Spain, there was a man called Muhammad ibn Ali ibn Arabi who claimed to be a Muslim, and Allah knows best what was his position and what was his intentions. But according to Islamic State, he was found culprit. Why? Because he claimed that Allah is the only one that truly exists. Every other things are illusion. This was one of his proposition. And the other thing that he used to say was, like, he believed in the concept called wahdatul wujud, which means that creation and the creator are one. So whatever we see in the creation, that is a part of Allah, and Allah is the part of creation. Creation is the part of Allah. So he had unified the creation and the creator to be one. So this was also a concept of Tawheed, the unification. But his approach was completely false, because Islam always teaches us to separate the creation from the creator. But what he proposed was the unification of creation and creator, which was a wrong concept, and it is disagreed by his concept was disagreed by the whole of the Ummah, all the Islamic scholars all together, that his concept is wrong and he should be stopped in spreading that concept. So these kinds of challenges came in front of the scholars of Islam. In order to face those challenges, they had to develop a new science of faith from within the Quran and from within the Hadith, in order to tackle them, in order to reply them, in order to face them, in order to write articles against them. They had to evolve a new science of faith, and that is known as Aqidah. So from there we started these divisions or these elaboration on the faith. Otherwise it was really simple. The language of Quran, if you analyze, it was straight enough. It was straightforward for the people of Makkah and Arab to tackle them, to challenge them. But whenever Islam grew, we had to get deeper into the scriptures in order to tackle them, and hence the science of Aqidah started to appear in the textbooks and in the articles of Islamic scholars, which was really a good job done by Islamic scholars. So let's continue. So if we continue, we can see that during the division of Aqidah by Islamic scholars, what they did was they divided Aqidah or Tawheed, the concept of Tawheed, oneness of God, into three different parts. Let me give you an example so that you can understand why these three divisions of Tawheed were done. Suppose we live in a remote area, or we decided to go to a remote area, or let's say we decided to hire somebody for our household work into the city, and we prefer somebody from a remote area to work on our home, to stay with us. So what I decided was, I decided a man who was from far remote area, who had never been to school, who had never studied any of the books, don't know how to read, don't know how to write. I invite him to my home to help me do my household work, and he comes in. So suppose I was having a meeting with my friends and I was in need of a pen and a paper. So I asked my helper to get me a pen. So he was confused because he had never seen a pen. What to do? There were guests. If he said, I don't know what is pen, it would be embarrassing to him. So he went to a room and he searched for what could be the pen. So he found a bottle and he hold the bottle, took it to me and presented it to me. And I tell to him, no, this is not pen, please get me a pen. So he again returns back and gets let's say watch, my hand watch, wrist watch, and he brings it to me and presents it to me. And I say, no, this is not a pen. So I realize now he's not aware of pen. He had never seen a pen. So I explained to him there is something called pen in that room, which is in a pen holder, and if I just take it out, it is long in size, it has ink inside, it has a needle in front of it, and we write it. We use it to write. We hold it, it's thin, we write. Then he understands, then he can comprehend now what could be the pen. So he now goes to the room, see, he finds a holder, pen holder, he takes out a pen, sees it, it's long, it has ink inside, it has a needle, so he brings it and give it to the master, give it to me, and I take it and I write from it. Similarly, so there are three stages involved here by that man to get a pen correctly and present it to master. So what was those three steps? First of all, he was confused. What is pen? He didn't know what is pen. So he needed to believe that pen is in that room. There must be something called pen in that room. So the first step was to believe in the existence of pen. There is something called pen in that room, and I need to bring that. That's why he was trying to understand what was pen, trying to find out, discover the pen. So until and unless we believe in the existence of the pen, we will not bother to find it. So the first thing that we need to do, the first step, is to believe in the existence. Secondly, just believing in the existence of the pen did not suffice. He had to move on further to discover the attributes and let's say the attributes of the pen, which the master described. And that was, the pen is long, it has ink inside, it has a needle that we use to write, and we write using the pen. It is in the pen holder. So those were the attributes that was described by the master, which made him easier to understand what the pen is. Though he is illiterate, by the understanding of attribute, he was able to identify the pen. So this is the second thing we need to understand. First step is to believe in the existence. Second step is to understand the attributes. And the third step is to bring the pen to get the job done. So these are the three steps involved. Only after recognizing or accepting or believing in the existence, then we can discover the attributes. Only then we can get into the action. So those are the three important lesson we learned from this example. Similarly, in order to understand Allah, in order to worship one and only true God, Allah, we need to first of all believe in His existence. This is known as Tawheed ar-Rububiyyah, and Allah is our Rabb. To recognize Allah as a Rabb, Allah as Khaliq, as a creator, as sustainer, this is the first thing. To recognize there must be someone, to, 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 to establish the belief in his existence. This step is the first step that a Muslim should preach in order to make people understand that Allah truly exists. This is the first step, to recognize or to accept that there is somebody and there exists somebody who created the entire universe, who created the heavens and the earth. So this is the first step that we need to do to believe in the existence of someone who created everything, to believe in the existence of the creator who is controlling, who is sustaining, and who created everything. This is the first step of the belief in the belief of Allah. This is known as Tawheed al-Rububiyyah. And to make us understand this, Allah has spoken in the Quran, asked us some questions in the Quran that is very much associated with this step of Tawheed al-Rububiyyah. For example, if you read on the Quran, Allah says, Am khuliqu min ghayri shay? Did you create yourself? Did you create yourself? And nobody would say yes. Nobody would say yes. No. Similarly, Am humul khaliqun? Were you created just like that, without any reason? Nobody created you and you were just into existence? No, this is not a true answer. Again, Allah asks in the Quran, Am khalaqus samawati wal ard? Did you create the heavens and the earth? Did you create the skies and the land? No. So this is a rhetoric question, a satiric question that is requesting us, that is demanding us to believe that there must be someone else who created it, because we did not create it, nor did my parents create it, nor their parents created it. So these questions of the Quran that is asking us, who created you? Were you created by an accident? Did you create the heavens and the earth? This set of questions, they are demanding us to believe that if we didn't create it, then Allah, there must be someone who created it. This is the first step of believing in oneness of God, to believe in his existence. First point. Second point, after we have accepted that there must be someone who created the heavens and the earth, now second thing that Allah demands us to do is to understand his names and attributes. Because if we don't understand his name and attributes, we can fall into shirk by making anything God. There are lots and lots of people in the world who believe in one God, but they are believing in false God. They are worshipping only one, but they are worshipping false God. Why? Because they failed to understand or realize the names and attributes of God. Because they try to imagine the God with their own brain, with their own understanding, without trying to strive in order to discover the names and attributes of Allah. They try to do it their own way. They start imagining their own God. They start creating their own God, and they started to worship that created gods. So this is really important part of Tawheed, that after accepting God as our one and only God, as our creator, our sustainer, our controller, we also need to understand the names and attributes of God in order to recognize or in order to identify how God is, who is to be worshipped. Only after we have recognized who Allah is, how Allah is, then only we'll be able to worship the one and only true God. And this is the essence of Tawheed, that only Allah deserves worship. In order to reach into that point, the worship of Allah, we need to first of all believe in the existence of Allah. Secondly, understand who is Allah. Only then will we be able to recognize who is Allah. So these were the divisions made by the ulama or the scholars of Islam, by dividing Tawheed into three different parts. Tawheed al-Rububiyyah, to believe that only Allah, it is only Allah who created the entire universe, who is controlling the entire universe, and who is sustaining the entire universe. This is the first part, to accept or to believe in his existence. The second thing is to recognize Allah through his names and attributes. This is known as Tawheed al-Asma wa Sifat, that the oneness of Allah in his names and attributes. Nobody else would share his names and attributes. We'll discuss about this in a few moments. And thirdly, that only Allah deserves worship. After accepting him, and after recognizing that somebody exists, and after recognizing Allah by his names and attributes, then only we get into the worship of Allah. If we recognize him wrong, if we accept somebody else to be Allah, then we can fall into false worship. So it is very, very important to accept his existence, to understand his names and attributes, and then move towards worship. So these are the three steps involved for the division of Tawheed in such a way that they could address any kind of belief system, whether it be Persian belief system, whether it be Christian belief system, or whether it be atheism, or whether it be any other human discovered let's say belief system. So it was very important to make this division in Tawheed, and then approach to the different types of different sects or different groups or different tribes who had their own sets of beliefs, to meet their scholars and to discuss with them and to convince them. And this turned out to be a very good initiative of the scholars of Islam. As we can see that the entire Arab and most of the parts of the Asia as well, okay, all of these people, they were convinced by Islam, and this was the great initiative from our scholars of Islam to make the concept of Aqidah and Tawheed easier to understand by dividing it into Tawheed al-Rububiyyah, Tawheed al-Asma wa Sifat, and Tawheed al-Ibadah. We'll get into each one of these division one by one, but this video is going to be very long if we deal with it in the same video. So I'll create another video for this as a part 2 of Aqidah. We'll be discussing about the types of Aqidah in another video. I hope you like the video, and I request you to wait for another video, and where you will be able to understand the types of Aqidah, the divisions of Aqidah. We'll be discussing about them one by one in elaborated way through the examples from Quran and through also from the examples of the Hadith. So stay tuned. I hope you liked the video. If you did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video so that it reaches to many people throughout the world, and let's help them understand Islam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.